Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into a whirlwind of dramatic headlines. First up, Donald Trump marked his 79th birthday with a military parade in Washington, filled with tanks, troops, and patriotic tunes, yet outside the fences, the country was in chaos with protests, violence, and international conflicts. It was quite a surreal scene, highlighting the stark contrast between celebration and turmoil. Next, we turn to Europe, where over 150,000 protesters in the Netherlands marched peacefully in The Hague, demanding stronger action from their government regarding the ongoing Gaza conflict. Organized by major human rights groups, this massive demonstration shows how global citizens are uniting to call for change amidst political instability in the Netherlands itself. Finally, the Middle East is on fire with Israel and Iran trading missile strikes and retaliations, escalating regional tensions. President Trump has warned Iran to stay out of U.S. targets and predicts a quick deal between Israel and Iran, but the situation remains highly volatile, with fears of a broader war. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed insights on these stories. The Toronto Star vividly captures the stark contrast between the chaos outside and the surreal calm inside the fences of Washington, D.C., on Trump's birthday. While protests erupted across the United States with hundreds of thousands rallying under the banner "No Kings," demanding governance by the people and opposing authoritarian displays, the scene within was oddly peaceful. Trump hosted a military parade, celebrating the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary with tanks, troops, and patriotic music, seemingly detached from the turmoil outside. Despite the parade's grandeur, featuring robotic dogs, a salute from Trump, and a concert, it felt more like a traditional American spectacle than a display of power, especially given the dissonance of a nation embroiled in protests, political violence, and international conflicts. The article underscores the eerie dissonance of a leader seemingly disconnected from the tumult, emphasizing that while the parade was a spectacle, the real story was the chaos and violence happening just beyond the fences, revealing a country torn between celebration and upheaval. The Associated Press provides a powerful account of escalating international tensions and protests, highlighting the massive demonstrations in the Netherlands against Israel's military campaign in Gaza. Tens of thousands marched in The Hague, demanding their government take stronger action against Israel's alleged violations of international law, with organizers estimating over 150,000 participants. The protest symbolically traced a red line around the city, representing a plea for intervention. Meanwhile, the conflict between Israel and Iran intensifies, with both nations exchanging missile strikes and escalating rhetoric. Trump's comments reflect a desire for diplomacy, predicting a quick resolution and warning Iran against retaliation, even as the situation on the ground grows more perilous. The article paints a picture of a world on the brink, where protests and diplomatic efforts collide with the realities of war, illustrating the fragile state of global peace and the complex web of alliances and conflicts that threaten to spiral further. The AP also delves into Trump's optimistic yet cautious stance amidst the Middle East chaos, asserting that both Israel and Iran are close to making a deal to end their hostilities. Trump's claims of de-escalation and negotiations mirror his past efforts to mediate conflicts, such as between India and Pakistan or Serbia and Kosovo, though the current crisis remains volatile. His rhetoric of "peace soon" and "making the Middle East great again" underscores his desire to position himself as a peacemaker, even as the reality on the ground suggests a more uncertain future. Meanwhile, domestic political figures and backers emphasize restraint, with some praising Trump's approach as avoiding unnecessary U.S. involvement, reflecting the ongoing debate about America's role in foreign conflicts. As world leaders gather for the G7 summit, the tension between diplomacy and escalation hangs heavily, illustrating the delicate balance Trump seeks to strike between peace efforts and the risks of wider war. Al Jazeera opinion vividly captures the disastrous implications of Israel's recent military strikes against Iran, emphasizing that the Israeli government is repeating the same strategic blunders of past invasions like Iraq. The article points out that Netanyahu's justification of preemptive action to prevent Iran's nuclear development echoes the failed logic of the US and UK in Iraq, leading to chaos and instability rather than security. The strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, such as Natanz and Fordow, are unlikely to halt Iran's nuclear ambitions due to their underground fortifications, and the attack has only escalated regional tensions, risking a broader conflict that could destabilize the Middle East even further. The piece warns that Israel's unilateral actions could backfire, fueling Iranian nationalism and regional hostility, while also undermining U.S. efforts to manage the crisis diplomatically, especially as American officials grapple with questions about U.S. involvement and support. Nikkei Asia reports on the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, portraying a tense night of missile exchanges and devastating strikes that have resulted in significant casualties on both sides. The narrative vividly describes Israeli rescue teams sifting through rubble, and Iranian images showing the night sky illuminated by fires at fuel depots and gas fields, underscoring the severity of the attack. Israel's surprise operation, dubbed Operation Rising Lion, targeted Iran's military command and nuclear sites, with Prime Minister Netanyahu vowing to escalate further, while Iran has threatened severe retaliation. The conflict has led to a surge in oil prices and fears of regional destabilization, with both nations exchanging missile fire and Israel warning Iranians near military sites to evacuate. U.S. President Trump has publicly supported Israel's actions, warning Iran against widening its retaliation to U.S. targets, and suggesting a potential for a quick diplomatic resolution, although the ongoing hostilities threaten to spiral into a broader regional war. RFI highlights French President Emmanuel Macron's diplomatic efforts amidst the geopolitical tensions, emphasizing his visit to Greenland as a show of European solidarity and a stance against Trump's controversial plans to assert control over the territory. Macron's message underscores the importance of respecting Greenland's sovereignty and addressing challenges like climate change, economic development, and strategic security. The article details Macron's criticism of U.S. ambitions in the Arctic, framing his visit as a reaffirmation of France and the EU's commitment to the region's stability and environmental concerns. Meanwhile, tensions persist over the potential militarization of Greenland, with U.S. officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, hinting at military plans that could involve force, reflecting broader anxieties about Arctic geopolitics. Macron's diplomatic stance aims to balance regional security interests with environmental and sovereignty issues, positioning France as a key player amid rising global competition for influence in the High North. The RFI article vividly depicts the tense atmosphere surrounding the G7 summit in Canada, overshadowed by the Israel-Iran crisis and escalating trade wars. World leaders, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, grapple with the volatility of global politics, as Israel's strikes on Iran and Tehran's retaliations unfold unexpectedly. Starmer emphasizes the urgent need to de-escalate regional tensions, while Canada's decision to forego a traditional joint statement reflects the fractured state of international unity. Meanwhile, President Trump's unpredictable behavior, including threats to make Canada the 51st state and to seize Greenland, adds an unpredictable wild card to the summit. Leaders like Macron, who visits Greenland to reaffirm sovereignty principles amid U.S. preying threats, and Starmer's cautious diplomacy with Trump, highlight the complex diplomatic dance amidst mounting global crises, from Ukraine to the Middle East. The CBC article offers a historical perspective on the G7's origins, emphasizing its initial purpose as a forum for managing global economic shocks in the 1970s, amid geopolitical tensions and economic upheavals. Founded during a period of recovery post-1975, the G7 was designed to project Western unity and reassure markets during turbulent times. However, the current landscape has shifted dramatically, with the rise of the G20 and BRICS challenging the G7's relevance amid declining collective economic influence. The article underscores how recent crises, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the ongoing trade war initiated by Trump, have tested the alliance's cohesion. Experts suggest that the G7 now functions more as a talking shop, with limited consensus and a diminished role, especially as trust among members, notably with the US, wanes. Despite its declining influence, the summit remains a platform for dialogue, even if meaningful unity proves elusive. The Toronto Star reports on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, highlighting a Ukrainian drone attack in Russia's Tatarstan region that resulted in one death and multiple injuries, illustrating how the war continues to spill across borders. Russia's retaliatory strikes, including the destruction of Ukrainian drones and missiles, reflect the brutal and relentless nature of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Russia claims to have gained ground in Donetsk, while Ukraine's military remains silent on some Russian advances. The article details the recent call between Putin and Trump, where Trump urged Putin to end the war, and Russia's return of bodies of fallen soldiers, a consequence of peace talks in Istanbul. The ongoing exchanges and battlefield developments underscore the persistent volatility and human toll of the conflict, with both sides engaged in a brutal contest of territorial control amidst diplomatic efforts to find a resolution. The Toronto Star vividly captures the surreal contrast between the chaos outside and the spectacle inside Donald Trump's military parade in Washington, D.C., on his 79th birthday, where tanks, robot dogs, and country music played while protests raged across America. Outside the fence, Protests erupted in cities nationwide, tear gas in Atlanta, threats in Texas, and a manhunt in Minnesota for a police impersonator turned murderer, highlighting a nation divided and tumultuous, fighting against perceived tyranny and corruption. Meanwhile, within the parade grounds, a bizarrely normal scene unfolded: families, supporters in MAGA hats, and volunteers amidst food trucks. As soldiers marched past, salutes were given, and a parade of military hardware rolled by, sponsored by corporate giants like Oracle and Palantir, blending patriotic pageantry with unsettling commercialism. Trump, seemingly detached, watched the spectacle in a scripted, subdued manner, offering little of the fiery rhetoric typical of his persona, while the event echoed a traditional American military celebration more than a display of authoritarian excess. Yet, beneath the surface, the real story was the chaos and violence simmering outside: political murders, ongoing wars, and protests, reminding us that Trump's theatrical display masked a nation grappling with deep divisions, violence, and unrest, leaving the world to wonder if these protests are just beginning or if the country's fragile democracy is on the brink. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Wasteland, dreams die.